I'm starting this out early in the morning so that they'll be done and I'll have them tomorrow for breakfast. And I'm not going to have to worry about it tonight. Yay, team! These you're going to be making 4 at once. You can actually just make 2 at once if you'd like to, because a big one will feed, you can take it to a party. It'll feed a whole lot of people. And the smaller ones are going to be about this big, and they're going to be really yummy, and they're great to give away as presents. They're also, if you just are having a couple of friends in or family in, they're going to feed like 4 or 5 people in the morning, especially if you have like, you know, tea and some juice and some fruit and stuff like that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat up some of our ingredients so that they're nice and warm to work. And then the first thing we're going to do here, after we heat that up, is we're going to have our yeast ready. Big bowl to mix the dough in and to keep it nice and warm. Smaller bowl for your filling. And you're going to need measuring cups and measuring spoons, and you're going to need a knife. You could also use your food processor or another little chopper if you want to for your nuts, but you don't have to have that. And I can't remember whether I'm actually going to use it or not. Maybe I am. A regular mixer with beaters. You're going to need 2 pans because you're going to be putting 2 of the of each one of the breads on the pans. You can make just 2 of them, but I'm going to be making 4 of them. So you can either line the pans with parchment paper or you can use those groovy silicone sheets, whichever works for you. So it's early in the morning because I want to get this done, and here are the ingredients. We're going to use half whole wheat bread flour, half all-purpose flour, soy milk, a little salt. I'm going to be using honey. You could use brown rice syrup if you want to. That's okay. I know a lot about my apiary, and they really try to take care of those bees, and they try to make sure that there's bees for pollination. So I want to support them. Instant dry yeast, almond extract, cornstarch. This is lime juice, or you can use lemon juice. I happen to just like limes more, but you can use lemon juice. Cinnamon, some warm water, and applesauce. This is just for the bread, okay? All right, let's go to the filling. Okay, this is the filling. I'm going to be using brown sugar. You can use whatever you want. You don't need to use brown sugar. I'm going to be using maple syrup because that helps it. That helps me paint it across the dough and makes everything kind of slide easier. I'm going to use almonds because I have a boatload of them. You can use whatever nuts you want. Of course, we love walnuts. And also dried apricots, dried cranberries, cinnamon, and cloves. Now, for the glaze, and you don't have to use glaze if you don't want to, but I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be using a little soy milk and a little honey just for a really pretty glaze, especially the ones I'm giving to somebody else. We're going to start by heating up the soy milk just until it begins to bubble. We don't want it to boil. Put in your applesauce, the honey. I very, very lightly oiled this so the honey would come out really fast and easily, and it is. And the salt and your lemon or your lime juice. Stir it for a second, and then you're going to let it cool. I know so many people get bent out of shape about yeast, but don't do it. It's really, really simple. Put your hand in your water. It should feel like, just about perfect to go take a bath. That's what it should feel like. It shouldn't feel like, oh my God, hot, and it shouldn't feel like, oh, okay, it should feel like, ooh, nice and warm. Okay, so we're going to put our water in there, and then I'm going to put my yeast in, because what I'm doing is I'm going to be feeding the yeast. Now, again, you can use whatever sweetener makes you happy. I'm going to be using honey. The apiaries near my house go just crazy to make sure that the bees are okay and they're safe and that the queens stay alive and that the workers stay alive. They really go crazy trying to do this because they also have an orchard. So I know that they're really taking care of my bees. So I'm okay with honey. But there's a lot of people that aren't. And if that's you, that's okay. Pick something else. Whatever sweetener it is that floats your boat. Okay? Now I'm adding some cornstarch. Again, I'm feeding the yeast. And I'm making it nice and warm so it wants to eat. Now I'm putting in my soy milk mixture, which is warm and not hot. my first 3 cups of flour. And I'm mixing the flours between a whole wheat bread flour and an unbleached all-purpose flour. All that's in there, and now I'm going to start in the center and just start to stir it all up. Then finish up with just stirring everything. Now, make sure that you put this in a nice warm area. I put mine on top of the radiator. Turn your oven on to 100 degrees or just turn it on to 350 and let it heat for about 3 minutes. And then it gets to stick your hand in there, and if it feels like, ooh, this is warm, but it's just on the verge of being a little too hot, it's perfect. If you don't know how to do that, or if you don't feel comfortable, just find some place that's nice and warm and you have some sun, and just put it in there. Put a towel over on top to keep any dirt out of it, and it'll also help keep the heat in. Okay, let's see how this did. Ooh, it looks nice and big. And this is called a sponge, and it should be kind of, I mean, I'm tapping it really lightly, but it'll be kind of spongy. Again, I'm going to swap, I'm going to use 2 flours. This is half bread flour because you don't run it that heavy duty. And then I'm going to be putting in my white flour. It's not white flour, it's unbleached wheat flour. Okay, I have put most of the flour in here, but I haven't put all of it in. You don't want to put all of the flour in at once. Like if it says 3 cups of flour, you want to put in about 2.5 and then start working it, because it can depend on the humidity of the room or outside, sometimes or the age of the flour. Sometimes it takes as much, sometimes it doesn't. And then you just start kneading it, and you can feel it starting to pick up all the dough. Pour in your almond extract. Now my dough is still pretty sticky, so I'm going to put in some more flour because it needs it, okay? But I'm just going to add that much. I'm not going to like dump a half a cup in there. This is probably 1/8 of a cup or a little bit more than that, and I'm still going to work my dough. And you see how it's getting a little bit tougher, and I scrape down the sides so that I get all that stuff out of there. But because it's sticking so much to the bottom, I know that it needs more flour. It needs to dry out some more because it's sticky. Now you see how this is getting nice, but it's still a little sticky on the bottom? That still means I need to knead it, and I'm going to do that for about another minute. And see, your hand should come clean. Your hand should be coming clean off of all this stuff. So it needs a little bit more flour, but I'm going to work in the stuff I just put in. Now you see how nice this is getting? And I just kind of roll this stuff off my fingers and my hand and put it into the dough. Now my dough feels really nice, doesn't stick, feels nice and smooth. And I'm going to leave it and let it just kind of hang out, and I'm going to put a cloth over it, and then I'm going to go make the filling.